So insomnia is a condition that's often, it's going to be rated often under mental disorders, right? So in some cases, if you already have a mental health rating, it's maybe insomnia doesn't really move the needle, right? But for those that don't have a mental health condition, or they don't want to file for it for fear of losing their job, not being able to obtain a job, losing a firearm, whatever, right? So there's a whole host of reasons why vets don't put in for mental health, but they can put in for insomnia, as whatever their insomnia rating has to, or whatever their insomnia kind of situation is. However, what used to be available was insomnia as a secondary condition. So that has changed let me look at the date, January 10th, 2024. So a couple months ago, just wanted to bring it to your awareness if you missed it. Oftentimes the VA is very quiet about changes that they make, and you don't know unless you read it. So before, you used to be able to go, my back keeps me up at night, therefore I have insomnia due to my pain, or I have some sort of an other condition that also creates this insomnia aspect. So I want to read a couple parts in here, Clay, and get your thoughts on it. So this is in the manual. It's the M21-1. And again, the effective date says change date was January 10th, 2024. I'm going to scroll down. I just Google searched, or not Google, I Controlled F and did insomnia. Now I'm down in the considering service connection for insomnia. Okay, this is what the VA uses, right? This is their manual on how to deal with your condition. So it says here, and I'm gonna read through it fairly quickly. So bear with me, Clay. It's not that long. So carefully consider the evidence of record when deciding service connection for insomnia is generally considered a symptom of another disability due to coexisting medical or neurological conditions. Okay, so what it's saying already here is that it is a symptom, much like what we're seeing happen with tinnitus. Okay, it says here, when insomnia is adequately identified as a symptom of another underlying disability, service connection should be established for that diagnosis rather than for insomnia. So if you have X and X is causing insomnia as one of the symptoms, you don't get to say I have X and I have insomnia. Mm-hmm. So they're coupling them together. The sentence that I don't like so much, which really doubles down on all of this, is a separate evaluation is not warranted for insomnia that is considered secondary to or a symptom of another disability. So it is, it's pretty much gone away. Now, they did leave a little wiggle room, and you'd really have to work with your medical provider on this. And they're really making it difficult. There is a small window for insomnia as a standalone condition. But they're really making it hard, especially for veterans that have multiple conditions that they're service connected. So it says here, however, service connection can be established on a direct basis for insomnia, oh thank you, in the absence of a known or established underlying etiology, if there is. And then it goes into 4 bullets here, Clay, and then I'm going to want your opinion on this. So it's saying that insomnia can have a direct service connection in the absence of a known established underlying etiology, right? And it says 4 bullet points. An event in service, such as a diagnosis of primary insomnia or insomnia disorder, right? So that would be easy. Yeah, you just got diagnosed for insomnia out of nothing. A current diagnosis of insomnia disorder meeting the DSM-5 diagnostic criteria. A nexus establishing insomnia disorder post-service is connected to the in-service, or to the event in service. A nexus establishing insomnia disorder post-service is connected to the event in service, but then there's an and. Mm-hmm. And The condition is not associated with any other disease or injury. So if the VA can say, that last one is the most important, in my opinion. If the VA can say, oh, no, your insomnia is because of this over here, or that over there, or this other condition that you have, they have to rule out everything that you have. So with that, what are your thoughts on all of that, Clay? I'd love to hear it.
Absolutely. So, starting with the 4 bullet points, the first 3 are the big 3. And I'm a big fan of the big 3. What I'm not a big fan of is when the VA adds a 4th one out of nowhere, right? Which is, as you described, the condition is not associated with any other disease or injury. Now, generally speaking, I will say this. Let me start with this. I'm not a fan of insomnia either. Not as much as I hate sleep apnea, right? It's not at that scale, but I'm still not a fan of the insomnia change. But generally speaking, it's not common to see insomnia. Rarely do I see a veteran rated for insomnia without having any other mental health disabilities, right? Because you could imagine if you're not sleeping, you're cranky. At a minimum, you're going to get cranky. And there's a whole anxiety and stress and kind of that same aspects to sleep apnea that we just described. So it's very common to see insomnia roped under mental health, which is a very large portion of insomnia ratings. Now, who does this affect the most? It's two groups of veterans. One, those that are rated right now for insomnia as a secondary. And so I think you had mentioned your back is causing your insomnia. And so you are rated for insomnia under the general schedule of mental health ratings. So you get the the two boom booms there, the 10% for back or 20, 40, whatever, in addition to insomnia. All right. Well, if you were to do that same claim now, what Jason just described is that insomnia rating wouldn't be there. And that 10% for back. See, the thing I don't like is it's ambiguous. And so, okay, so you're saying you're going to rate insomnia as a symptom to the primary disability. Well, let's look at back. Show me on the range of motion rating schedule where it talks about insomnia. You won't find it. So now, are you just going to completely discount it? I know that's the answer because that's what the CMP examiners on the DBQ for back, you're not going to see anything for insomnia. So if the VA is going to discount insomnia, which that's what is implied, because the M21, the changes, although they do state, hey, insomnia will be a symptom, there's no follow on. Okay, well, how are you going to rate insomnia as a symptom? That's the ambiguous, that's the unknown factor, right? So if the M21 had a follow on saying, okay, well, when insomnia is rated as a secondary to back, here are the criteria for insomnia as a secondary. That's what's missing in this. And that's what really I'm not a big fan because of that factor specifically. And the other group of veterans this is going to affect are, of course, those that are claiming insomnia as a secondary. If it's a new secondary claim, it's almost not worth it, to be honest with you.
And from what it sounds like, Clay, it sounds like secondary is not even an option. A condition is not associated with any other disease or injury, which means secondary, right? So the condition of insomnia is not associated with any other disease or injury. So the only way that you can get insomnia rating is a separate service connection evaluation for a diagnosis of insomnia disorder is only warranted if all other potential causes are ruled out and service connection can be established on a direct basis. That's the only way that you're going to be able to get insomnia now. Even if it is, like you said, insomnia is not rated under your back, right? So a back condition, you would have to go in and you would have to go all the way back and build a bridge back to your time in service and not talk about the fact that your back keeps you up. Like, I'm not the doctor. I think it is, but I'm not the doctor, so I'm not going to say it is. You tell me what it is. I haven't been able to sleep since I was in the military. I've had all these sleepless nights. I just took melatonin and drank a 6-pack, right? And that's how I went to sleep every night. And try to create a nexus in that fashion is really the only way that I can see moving to a service connection for insomnia at this point. I think that by default, we have utilized insomnia in a connecting way as a secondary, just because it was easier to prove as a secondary than as a direct service connection. Because it's like, how the hell do you prove that? I have zero in-service documentation on that. But now that's the only way. So you're going to have to do it like you would do no documentation for migraines, no documentation for GERD. What do? I self-medicated, write the story, get the nexus letters, that type of stuff, and go from there. That's kind of my thoughts on that, Clay. What do you think?
Yeah, I think if you're wanting to claim insomnia secondary, which is not an option, what I would recommend insomnia like symptoms, because the vast majority insomnia will lead to other mental health disorders like anxiety, depression, and all of that jazz. And so it would be more advantageous, in my opinion, based on the M21 changes, to just go the mental health route and forget about insomnia completely.